Hello and welcome to Strange World Autism. I'm your host, Dallas Manning. So, as you can see, there have been a few changes lately, specifically in my appearance. For those of you who are on my Twitter feed, Facebook feed, or on my blog, you'll be aware by now that I just recently spoke with Autism Speaks and have already jumped on board with the Autism Cares bill. That's currently going in the Senate. It's Bill 2449. I will include a link in the description below to the bill, and I will also include a link to the Senate webpage so that if you choose to support this bill, and I'm asking everybody to please support this bill because this will better help the autism community with more funding for research, for education, and for support for people with autism. I'll also include a link in the description below for how to get in contact with your senator. Also in the description below will be my new email address and my new Skype address. For those of you who wish to contact me via Skype, you can always give me a call on Skype, and I'll be more than happy to hear from you. So, in continuation with what's new, it's like I said, I've been discussing stuff with Autism Speaks, and this is something that's brand new to me. This is a new adventure for me. This is a step towards bettering the lives of people who have autism, helping get them better support, helping them get them the things they need. Another benefit of what is going on right now is I am currently trying to build something for myself. As you can already see that there have been a few changes, specifically in my appearance. Hopefully here soon I'll even have a brand new set that I'll be shooting off of. And I'm hoping to try to get some new equipment sometime in the next couple of months. I wanted to take a few minutes to say thank you to my friends and family for supporting me and starting this new adventure. And thank you to my friends and family also for taking the time to get involved in the autism community. Now, the second reason that I'm recording today is I wanted to discuss with you what it is to be autistic. I know I mentioned it before in my first video, but there's so much more to it. One of the things I want people to understand is that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. No two autistic people are exactly alike. For example, my friend Patrick, he is high functioning and he is capable of driving. I have another friend who is not capable of driving, who was asked not to be mentioned in the video. I also cannot drive. Now, the differences between the three of us don't include just driving. Patrick is very mechanically inclined, meaning with him, he loves mechanics, he loves building computers. If it's physical, he can do it. My unnamed friend, he is very mathematically inclined, meaning he enjoys anything math-based. And as for me, I'm linguistically inclined, meaning that I enjoy anything that involves language, including computer programming, because programming is a language. In fact, it's a markup language. So there are some differences between people with autism. And it is very interesting to see what the differences are. That's actually one of the benefits of the CARES bill, by the way, is it allows for autism research, so you can get a better understanding of what the key differences and similarities are between people with autism. People with autism generally view the world in a very different light. To make that quite clear as to what I'm meaning, I would like you guys to think about something. Think about the sky. Most people would look up and go, yeah, it's blue. It's got clouds. Some people, myself amongst them, would look up and go, okay, sky's a little dark today. Looks like it's getting ready to precipitate. The Condensation's very dense, meaning the clouds, by the way. So that's kind of how my thought process would go. And I know it's kind of weird, but that is my view of things. Some people with autism might view it slightly differently, however. Um, Let me give you another example. A friend of mine, another person who wished to be unnamed, she is autistic, but she is selectively mute. Basically, she has social anxiety to the point where she refuses to speak to anyone outside of her family. She does sign, and she does use a pen and paper to write. But if she looks at the sky, she looks at it from an artistic point of view. I look at it from a linguistic point of view, and I would actually name what's in the sky. She would name the colors. I look up and I say the sky's blue, clouds are gray, looks like it's going to precipitate today. She looks up and goes, the sky is azure, the clouds are steel gray, and the rain bands look like little bits of rice falling in the distance. And that's just the way she views things. So autism does view things differently. In fact, it's part of my tagline. It's a strange world, autism, or it's a strange world out there, and autism views it differently. There's a reason why I say that. It is not just because all people of autism view it the same way in a different light from neurotypical people, but because each person with autism views the world in a slightly different light than most neurotypical people would. My case in point being the way we look at the sky. I look at it, and like I said, I see it linguistically. My unnamed friend, she sees it artistically. I look at computer, and again, I see it linguistically. The other unnamed friend sees it mathematically, and my friend Patrick sees it mechanically. And all three of us are seeing the exact same object. But I'll sit here and I'll take apart my keyboard just to figure out how the buttons work, but then I'll plug everything back in, and then I'll go into a program like Run, or into the keyboard's actual physical programming online, and see what exactly makes the keyboard digitally tick. Whereas my friend Patrick, he'd take it apart, and then he'd look at the plugs and the cables and the chips, and he would like to see how it electrically runs. And my unnamed friend, he would look at the keyboard and he would try to look up the binary code as to what each key has numerically meaning. So these are some of the differences in autism that a lot of people overlook. Most of you people probably look at your computer and go, it's a computer. Or look at your cup of water and go, it's water. I drink it. Or look at your phone and go, it's a phone. But to a lot of autistic people who work with electronics on a day-to-day basis, it's more than just that. Some of us are actually fascinated with how things run, what makes things work, how it's codically different from any other computer system. Another interesting concept that I want everybody to keep in mind is autistic people tend to think of things differently as well, in the form of personal sensation and personal fears. My friend Patrick, who is not a very good public speaker, but is a very good friend, and in small groups he speaks to us quite well, is a good guy to use here. My friend Patrick, he really isn't not much of a public speaker. Whereas me, if you'd asked me a few years ago, I wouldn't have been a public speaker either. But my friends kind of pushed me towards this, and I grew more comfortable with it. My friend Patrick seems to be perfectly at home flying. because he flies for work. Me, I'm petrified of flying. I'm afraid of heights. And even though I know rationally, and I mean rationally as in ratio, chances, odds, rationally, I have a better chance of getting hit by a car walking to the end of my street than I do of that plane falling out of the sky. But fear is just that. It's fear. It's something that's kind of hard to explain. My friend Patrick, I don't know all of his fears, but he does seem to have his own little quirks. I have another friend, the young lady, the artist that I was talking about earlier. She has a fear of crowds, and while I don't do well in crowds, I do well enough if I can separate myself from the crowd and get my mind right. She has a hard time separating herself from the crowd in any capacity. If she feels like she's in a crowd, she shuts down. And that is actually another difference between a lot of people with autism. Some people with autism, when they get overwhelmed and overstressed, they scream. Some will rock and cross themselves. Some will start muttering and mumbling, and some will, like me, trigger off what looks like a seizure. Each person's response to stress is completely different when it comes to autism as well. Most people who are not autistic, they respond to stress with frustration, and we do get frustrated. They respond to it with shortness of temper, and again, we have that. But most people who are neurotypical have it's much easier for them to regain their composure than it is for people with autism. Because anything that's a break from stasis, which is their normal, a break in their routine, can cause them a lot of confusion and cause a lot of disruption. A lot of us are very schedule oriented. And that is something I want people to keep in mind. That is just another of the many differences between people with autism. And the last difference I want to talk about for people with autism today, I might discuss this in future videos, but the last thing I want to talk about is routines. Now, I talked about in last week's video about something called Coreyisms, as my middle name is Corey. My routines are very interesting. My mornings usually go along the lines of this. I don't usually wake up at a set schedule, but when I wake up, I go downstairs and I'll cook myself an egg and some bacon, or an egg and some sausage. And if it's early enough in the morning, I'll get coffee. If it's not, I just get water or orange juice. So that is my morning routine. Then right after I finish my breakfast, I either watch TV or I come upstairs and I play on my computer. Now that's not really all that different from most normal people. But here's where things get a little differently. Most normal people might watch Discovery Channel from time to time, or might watch the BBC from time to time, or might have a fandom for Doctor Who or stuff like that. Me, I have to watch Doctor Who at least 2 or 3 times a week in order to feel satisfied for the week. If I'm playing on my computer, the very first thing I do when I start up my computer is I launch Spotify, plug in my headphones so that I don't disturb my mother downstairs while she's working, and I start listening to classical music. And when you guys think classical music, you probably are thinking Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, and Bizet. And yes, I do listen to them. But I also listen to the Three Tenors, Luciano Pavarotti, Bryan Adams, Andrea Bocelli, and a few others. And it's interesting that a lot of people don't consider modern operatic classical, even though modern operatic is in the classical genre. And I do apologize, by the way, for the phone. I am currently working on getting a different headset or different mic system so that I don't pick up everything in my room and I can get rid of the big ears. But anyways, as I was saying though, scheduling is a bit different for a lot of normal people as well. Neurotypical people typically work a regular 9 to 5 above a certain age, or they're in college. And I did go to college, by the way, for a year. But unfortunately was medically asked to leave because I was disturbing the class. It is what it is. Now, with that in mind, scheduling for most days is different for a lot of people with autism. Some people have very set routines. Example, one of my friends, her day typically goes like this. She wakes up at 8 a.m. or she puts it 0800. She does it on the 24-hour schedule like I do. So it's 8 a.m. she's awake. 8:15 she's showered and brushed her teeth. 8:30 she's downstairs, she's eating breakfast, and she's getting ready to go out the door to her autism support group meeting for that morning. She goes to lunch, and then she goes to her art class in the afternoon, and this is Monday through Friday. After her art class, she goes to the next autism support group. She comes home. It's now about 6 or 7 at night, and she eats dinner. And the one thing I find kind of odd about her is macaroni and cheese always has to be on her plate somewhere, otherwise she won't eat. So that is her schedule. She goes to bed even at a certain time. She goes to bed at 10 o'clock, and she repeats it the next day. I do not know her Saturday schedule, as I've never actually dealt with her on Saturday. But on Sunday, her usual routine is she gets up, goes to Mass. She's Catholic, just like me. And then she spends the rest of her day with her mother out shopping. And then comes home and eats dinner about 6 or 7 at night, and then goes to bed at 10. With me, it's like I said, my schedule is I get up, have my breakfast, coffee, orange juice, or water, watch a little TV, play my video games, and then I get on my social media and I check the different things that are pertaining to autism this day. After I get done with the autism stuff, if I have enough time before my father gets home, I will play video games, or I will look on my computer for this day in history. After my father gets home, it's time to start getting ready for dinner and all that. So I come downstairs, I spend time with my family, we make dinner, and then sometimes we watch TV, and sometimes I just come upstairs and I watch TV up here and then go to bed. That is my usual everyday routine, with the exception of Sunday, where I actually go to Mass on Sunday mornings, most Sundays, or Mass on Saturday evening if the next day schedule conflicts arise. So that is my usual scheduling, and that is not indicative of every autistic person. I feel that this better helps me keep balance, whereas my friend, she keeps balance with a much tighter schedule. So that is just one of the many differences about people with autism. It's like I said, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So anyways, in closing, there are a couple different changes that I mentioned earlier. The first change is I did actually shave off my beard, and I did cut my hair. I'm working with my family to get myself a brand new set built to help me better do this show. I'm also going to get a mic system that's not attached to my head. I've also decided I'm going to lose weight. That's actually something that I'm doing for myself. I was healthiest in both mind and body when I weighed significantly less than I do now. So my goal is I would like to, over the series of the next couple of months, I'm going to do small videos throughout the week where I document my weighing in and I document what I'm eating. And if I can manage to set up a video system that I can do this with, I might also document my exercise routine. Because my exercise routine will include walking. I will also be doing yoga. And when we finish rebuilding the basement, some of you know what happened there. We had a bit of a recent flooding issue. So when we finish rebuilding the basement and we get the gym rebuilt, I will also be using the weight machines. So that's just one of the many new changes that you'll be seeing coming to this channel. And I know that this is a brand new channel, but it's like some of the other YouTubers have said, you have to adapt, change, and overcome in order to be successful. Well, this is not so much about my success as a YouTuber, but more as my success in life. I think I would be healthier and happier if I lost weight, and this is going to be my goal. And I am asking all of my friends and family and the people that watch my videos to help cheer me on. I would love it if I got people involved. So with that being said, I would like to say thank you to everybody who watched this video today, and to anybody that calls their congressman and gets involved in the Autism Cares bill. I would like to hear from you. Email me. My email and everything else will be in the description below. Or if you have a mobile device, it'll be on the description to the right. So I would like you to email me or Skype me or tweet me and let me know that you did it. And if you wish to be featured on next week's video, let me know, and I will give you a shout out in the next week's video. Also, I am starting to take response videos, and I'm going to do a question of the day with each video that I do. So this week's question of the day is, do you know someone with autism? And if you do, what are the unique quirks to them that you find fascinating and endearing? So with that being said, I wish everybody a blessed day, a wonderful weekend, and I wish everybody to please remember, it's a strange world out there, and autism views it differently.